Okay, hello everybody. We will be starting the class now since it is past 8 o'clock. So one thing I wanted to ask was since our last class was 2 weeks ago, and even then it was we sent out the link a bit late. I wanted to ask how many people here remember what we did last class. If you could just type in the chat yes or no. Okay, so it seems like most of the people that usually participate then remember what we did last class. So just as a short then review of that uh, block coding site in general. We did start with Scratch, yeah. So we went over these 20-ish puzzles and they went over concepts like the if statement, for loop, while loop, other basic concepts. So does anybody have any questions on anything that happened within that? Because after this, then I will not be going back to it. Okay. And then with that, we did Scratch. And I believe some of you said that you had a demo for us. Was it Anushka? If I remember one person. Okay, so do you want to present your screen and show the rest of the class your Scratch example? Oh, and it left. Yes, Sachi? Was that a question or? Oh, sound is low. Is this better? Is anybody else having an issue with my microphone volume? Okay. And with that, we'll go to Scratch. We'll get started. I know I went over the basics briefly, but then again, we do have different categories for each block. So motion is what you're telling this character, what they call a sprite, to do in terms of movement. Either it'll move like this, it'll turn. Uh, you can see, what is it? If you change the direction, this is what it does when it turns, just so you know. And then you have looks, which is what it'll say, or like, so if we do operator, no, variable control, events. So if we do this, it'll have a speech bubble here for 2 seconds. So that's what looks will do. So motions will move it or turn it or make it do some, like move the sprite. Looks will either change what it says it thinks, or it'll change backdrops, sizes, or colors. Sounds will give you an audio effect. Then you have events, which are, as you can see, you don't connect anything to the top of them. They are the start of your program. So like when this green flag is clicked, it'll do something, it'll start whatever comes after it, or when the space key is pressed, so on and so forth. Then you have controls, which include our if statements, our if else statements, or our while loops. So that's that. Then we have sensing, which what is it? Which can be used with repeat until, like, so if you do repeat until moving edge, and then we do motion move 10 steps, and then we do when this is clicked. So what it will do, so does anybody want to tell me what this program will do then? Does anybody want a bit more time to look at the program and then tell me what you think it does? Move the sprite ahead until it touches the edge. Yeah, that's correct. So you can see it'll move. Obviously, we don't see exactly how it checks every time like we did with the code.org, because the code.org did things slowly in order to make sure that younger people will understand what exactly that program is doing. The Scratch just goes through everything at the highest speed possible. So now we see what this sensing block does. And for example, like this, ask what's your name and wait, and then answer. So these two blocks are a pair. So if we do ask what's your name, and then, so ask what's your name gives you this text input option. And then when you input text, test, and then you do that, that is saved in this variable, this answer variable. Variables are these just oval blocks. So then we can say, instead of hello, if we put here, then we can, if we put test, then you can do that. So does everybody get, especially like those kinds of blocks where it's a normal block and then it's a paired variable? So I'm assuming everybody understood it then. So then next we have our operators, which are basically just what is it? Simple Boolean statements. So I'll go over to that in a bit, what exactly a Boolean is, but it's like a true, false, or in this case, it's just simple math. And then we have our final variables section where you can make a variable or make your own blocks. Does everybody get that? Sorry, can you tell it again? Okay, so I think this is, okay, so this is one of the only, I think, paired blocks I will have you use later on in a future class. So what it does is that it asks a question, and then it gives you the option to input text. And then when you click this check mark, the text that you put in here, so if I input test and I click this, the text that I input here will then get saved to this answer variable. So then later on within the same program, I can use this variable. So I could even turn it 360 degrees and then have it say that. So then what it would do is that it would ask for the name and it would wait. So until I would press this check mark with any text inside, it would wait. It wouldn't do any of this. But then once I do that, then it would go on with the rest of the code. So if I do that, type in test. Obviously, we don't see it turn 360 degrees because it does it so quick. Uh, yeah. So yeah, that's it basically for that. Sir, I wanted to show you the game. Okay. Sir, screen is blurred. Does anybody else have this problem that my screen is blurred? Okay, because if it's a no from other people and a yes from some people, then that has less to do with my screen being blurry and the fact that some of the bandwidth in your house might be taken up right now. So Anushka, I just went on with the lesson since you left the meeting for a bit, but if you want to, feel free to present your screen now. I can stop presenting, and then Anushka, if you want to present the screen and unmute if you want to, or if you want me to try and explain your program after seeing it for the first time, just do whatever. Hello.
Sir,
How?
I just wanted to tell you I have to disconnect from this one and I have to join from another account so I can share.
Okay, okay. So you can leave, switch your account, and join, and then come back. Uh,
Sir,
yeah. So take your time. Okay, so
sir,
I think we should be able to. Yeah.
sir, I'm here.
Who was that? Okay, yeah, yeah. I asked that for Anushka, I'm letting her unmute since she's presenting, but usually just keep
Yes,
yourself
sir.
muted so that way the bandwidth of the call. Yeah, yeah. So, since you're sharing your video, whoever's on.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, okay,
So my game's name is Hide and Seek. I should show you my script.
okay.
So this
So
is my
everybody,
script.
if you could pin her video, or yeah, her videos to your main screen, so that way you can see. It's sideways. Could you turn your phone just to just so that we can see it the proper way?
Sure, sir.
Okay, well, obviously we can't see it very clearly, but with a hide and seek game, you'll have a lot of programs, and you can see that she has a lot of, what is it, event blocks in order to make sure that things move separately and properly when she presses certain keys or the green flag. And you can see that she has changed the backdrop. She's added multiple sprites. So this is like a good project level program. So I just wanted everybody to see just a short example of a Scratch program. I think you can stop sharing your video now. Yeah, so does everybody then get what kind of things we want to be doing with Scratch? Yeah, it's less of like it's less of like what's it, constructive programming and more of you just make small games. Yeah, so wait, let me just share my window then. Because I think if I just walk you through it, so events, if we say when clicked, uh, repeat until, so I'm gonna make a program where this cat sprite will move, what's it, randomly, or yeah, it'll move randomly, and then every time it hits a wall, it will increase the number that it's saying, and then when it gets to a certain number, then it will stop the program. So repeat until, should make a variable, my variable, or wait. So now we have to say one of these operations. So when this is greater than 14, my variable is greater than 14. So what we're going to do is that it will move 10 steps, or so then we'll have to add another while loop in this, repeat until touching edge, move 10 steps. And then after it touches the edge, then we want to motion, turn 15 degrees, except there should be a random somewhere in here, though. So it's been a long while since I've done this, so I'm just going with it, and yeah, so anybody who's done Scratch before, do you remember where the random variable is? Just want to ask since it's in motion. Okay, you know what? We'll just see if on edge bounce will work. And then it'll go, then it'll, what is it? It'll do my variable plus 1. And there should be a set. Oh, change my variable. Or wait, we'll just do set just to make sure. Set my variable to plus 1. Then we say my variable. Now we'll see how that works. Okay, well, obviously it doesn't do it randomly, which is what I wanted, but uh, you can clearly see how just to do something so simple as this, you do need a bit of code. I would say I would say it's more than you guys have coded in that code.org so far. So just be prepared that sometimes your programs will get very long and you want to be able to trace your programs, as I've said before. So we obviously, the first time we hear about this my variable is in this while loop. So we have repeat until my variable is greater than 14, which means that it'll stop when it's greater than 14. The first number that's greater than 14 is 15. So it'll stop when it's 15. Then repeat until it's touching the edge. So it'll move 10 steps. So if we start here, we know that it'll move until it hits the edge. Then if on edge, it'll bounce. Now that we've ran the program, we know that bounce does not mean that it bounces randomly. It'll bounce exactly in this, exactly back into it. But if we set it here, we change the direction a bit, then we'll be able to see it bounce uniquely 15 times. And then it'll bounce, it'll set my variable to what it was before, +1, and then it'll say my variable. And it'll do this till it's 15. So we can see. Okay, that wasn't the plan. Okay, so now we run into the problem. Since we stopped it before, or we don't have something that sets this my variable to 15. This my variable is something called a static variable. So no matter if we've ran the program or if the program is not currently running, what the my variable was at its last run through of the program, it will keep that value. So at the beginning of every program, then we need to set the variable to 0. And that'll allow the program to run as a fresh program every single time. So we can see that it's bouncing, right? And these programs, well, the sprites themselves, when you do if on edge, it'll calculate if anything on this edge is on the edge rather than just the center of the sprite, or rather than just drawing a box around the sprite or something. So does everybody understand that? Okay, sorry, sir. I didn't get why we use the Boolean block or the reporter blocks. So the Boolean block we use because that checks, what is it? It's used for these while loops, these if statements, to check if the statement is true or false. And depending on if it is either true or false, it will either go through with what is within that statement or that loop, or it'll continue on. So it's the Booleans are, well, we use Booleans in the hour of code exercises. Sir, I did it randomly. Can I show? Uh, Seeing how the last presentation went, I would recommend against it. But the fact that you did it randomly is good. I'm gonna spend a bit of time right now. If you could tell me where exactly the random block is. Uh, oh, pick random 1, 2. Okay, yeah, I get it. I get it. Never mind. Pick random 1, 360. Or if we want to make sure that, no, 1 to 360. Then we set direction to uh, point in direction, pick random, and then we take this out, did this. Okay, so now all right. Now we see the problem here. It doesn't bounce as normally, I would guess. So with okay, so you know how before in the hour of code program, I said that some of these blocks are like pre-programmed if statements, or they're made so that you don't have to code what's in them by hand. So this if on edge bounce is another example of that. What we did is that we had to manually do point in direction, and then within that we bring another math operation into it. What they did is that they found that, oh, so you would measure the angle that it's coming in at, 126. So this is 126 from here. So then you would measure the angle that it makes from here and here, and then you would make sure that it bounces off at a similar angle in the opposite direction. This is reflection and stuff. I'm not sure if you guys have learned that in school, so I'm not going to go into that, but just know that they figured out a way to rationalize how a reflection would work, and they just made a simple block for you to use instead of having to code it like this. Because you can see a pretty big problem with our program is that it has a possibility to just rotate 360 degrees like 15 times in a row. So what instead we would do is that we would take, I think we would do the angle minus, I think that there's a way. I'm not going to go too into depth right now since it'll take time out of the class, but uh okay, learned it in school. Okay, well that's good. So you know the whole incident angle and then the reflected angle and how that all works. So you can see clearly that they, instead of making you figure out some way to calculate the incident angle from a 360-degree system, they did it for you so that you wouldn't have to go through that hassle. So, uh, with that, I think we'll take a 5-minute break right now. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Uh, Otherwise, feel free to head to the restroom or something. Okay, third is also called a circular arrow, right? What exactly do you mean by circular arrow? Like the what's it called? The symbol that they use for turning? So, yeah, you could call it a circular arrow. But it's just to show, usually people will use that in a drawing or something to show that there is a change in direction, that either a character or something is changing the direction that they're pointing in. And then, sir, I've made a story in Scratch. So I get that a lot of you have already done quite a bit of Scratch, and that's why I'm kind of breezing over some of the basic stuff. If you do not know or you are unsure about some of these topics, please let me know, because most of the people active in uh, that are active in the chat already seem to have a pretty good understanding of Scratch and the basic concepts. So I'm just breezing over things. But if you're not saying anything in the chat, then it makes me very hard. It makes it very hard to know if you need help. Okay, with that short break, sir, I made a game in Scratch. Okay, so as I said before, that's great. Uh, if I remember correctly, you did say that you had never taken a coding class before, so it's very good that you managed to make a working game in this period of time. So with that, I want to show you the introduction of, sir, I did it randomly. Can I show, sir, I will stay muted. Uh, Before this class, I would have probably said yes, but seeing how the screen is blurry, when the screen was blurry when it was shown before, I would say no. And obviously, you can describe how it works in chat, and then I'll explain some of the concepts behind it. But I would, I, I'm not too much of a fan of then letting you guys present the stuff, because it doesn't seem like we, me and the rest of your classmates can see it clearly. So do you just want to like explain what it does in the chat? So how do we get sounds from place? Okay, I'm not sure if you guys heard that. Can you guys hear stuff that happens on my screen? And I'm not presenting, so okay, so you guys can hear stuff. So these sound effects, I don't use them because, and I don't think most people use them either, because Scratch games, people don't usually play them for sounds. Yeah, you would just, yeah, you would hear this. I mean, I don't know why exactly you would want to, but it exists. And with that, I think I'll show you. So we did have motion move 10. Okay, so we'll do a repeat until sensing touching edge. Here until touching edge, and then we'll do motion, move 10 steps. This will just be the basic thing again, so then I shouldn't have deleted the past one, because this time I'm just going to add a, what's it called? I'm just going to add another sprite that you will be controlling, and the number will only go up when you touch this cat. So repeat until this is greater than 15. So it'll repeat until that, and then it will, if we set motion, then if on edge, bounce. Actually, wait, we actually don't need the we don't need this other while loop, since this will automatically check. So we do it here. So then it'll repeat until my variable is greater than 15. It'll move 10 steps if it's on the edge. It'll bounce, and then actually, never mind, we do need it. And then we'll set the variable to, or change my variable by 1. Or no, we want to then do, what's it called? Events. And then we have now another one that we did back in block coding in the hour of code that we're bringing here. If blank, then change my variable by 1. So we're going to add a sprite. So if we just add a beetle, if touching beetle, then change my variable by 1. Okay. So now we have two programs that are running simultaneously when we click the green flag. So we have, when this is clicked, we're going to repeat until my variable is greater than 15. We're going to repeat moving forward until we touch the edge. And then after that, if we're on the edge, which we would be, we bounce. And then at the same time, when the green flag is clicked, it's constantly checking if it's touching this beetle sprite. And if it is, then it'll change my variable by 1. So for beetle sprite, what we're going to do is a pretty simple movement, what is it, program. So when space key is pressed, or when up arrow is pressed, when down arrow is pressed, right arrow is pressed, and when left arrow is pressed. What we're going to do is motion, so X is going to be your horizontal, Y is going to be your vertical. So then change X by 10. Or when the left arrow is pressed, we're going to change X by -10. So -10. And then we do the same thing with up and down. +10 and -10. Now, I'm just going to change the sizes of these things just to make sure that they're small enough to at least have some fun with. Now you can see that we can move. Okay, so obviously we can't see our variable, which is a problem, to say the least. So we're going to do looks, say, variables, my variable. And then once we click this, we're going to set my variable to 0, obviously. So okay, well, there's another problem. Jeez. Oh, okay, so another problem I didn't think about was the fact that when this is clicked, it only runs through once. Now, can somebody tell me what I would do to fix that? So this only checks once at the start of the program if they're touching and then doesn't check afterwards. So what do we want to do? Sir, how will it straight without getting stuck on the edge? Uh, I don't really understand what you're asking. And also, I am still looking for an answer. Uh, Hint, it's either an if statement or a loop. Okay, since nobody's answering the question, there is a forever loop. So it'll just do this forever. So within that one, press. All right. So I think it counts like each second that I'm touching it, which isn't really what I'm looking for, but I mean, it's an issue, but you can clearly see that we found a way to have two simultaneous programs running at the same time, and two, we have a second sprite, which we have a second set of programs going for. You have 4 programs running in this one, and then 2 major programs running in this one that randomly move and that check if they're touching the beetle. If they are, then they increase the variable by 1 and they save the variable. So does everybody get that? The concept of the cat is rotating all around, so it must go in a straight way by bouncing on the edge. So that's the beauty of them making the block for you. So what they would do is that, okay, if the cat is moving straight, then it comes over to here, right? Then it senses that it's hitting the edge, or that a pixel of its character is on the location, whatever this is. So this is y negative 154. So since it's on y negative 154, a pixel of it is on that y value, then it'll change the direction from negative 116 to 116, that's 64. So 116, yeah, that should be 64. So then instead of being 116, it pointed here, it'll then change its angle to here and then just keep on moving. And in that situation, it does not check afterwards if it is still on the edge. It just keeps on moving. So do you get that? No, well, okay, well, Shluk, have you learned about reflection, like how to calculate the reflected angle, Yuvika? Okay, well, you have made a start. So as I've been saying that it's great that you guys are moving ahead with Scratch and doing your own projects. So today I'm actually going to give you like I'm going to tell you to try and try and duplicate what I did for the Beetle. I'm not going to show the Beetle's program again, uh, but try and duplicate what I did with the Beetle. It's going to be just a simple like, can you navigate Scratch kind of exercise. How to change the costume. So you can obviously manipulate these ones. So all right, so that was a mistake. So we just reverted back to costume 2, you know. All is well that ends well, I guess. Oh yeah, we do have a reverse tool. So the costume tool is just if you want to change how your character looks, like say I wanted to give it a purple outline instead of a black outline. So obviously this isn't well made since I am using a mouse, but if you had like one of those fancier like pens for your PC or something, then it would be possible to do it. It's not something that is really necessary, to be honest. If you like want to change your sprite to like something almost completely different, then there's always the option of like uploading it from the internet. Uh, so there's that. That's the costume stuff. So do you understand that then? Sir, can you send the link for the online editor? Okay, yeah. So with that, I think we're gonna be done with all the teaching stuff. So I won't need you guys to talk and chat anymore. So we are starting scratch. We did learn, I would say, quite a bit. If you do have any questions, let me know right now. Uh, concerning stuff we covered, obviously not. I would try to stay away from stuff that we haven't covered explicitly in this class, because it's either something that I will cover in the future or something that I don't find to be very important for understanding how to program simple things. Sir, can you show code? I'm not going to show you the code that I wrote because your homework for this next week is going to be and try to make a program similar to what I did for the Beetle. And if I had to explain what the Beetle did, I could move it on my own without using the like manipulate sprite functions. I could use my arrow keys or any other kind of key to move it. It's a very simple thing. It's just to make sure that you guys get the understanding of oh, Anushka, I can't because of my exams. Okay, well that's fine then. You've already shown that you can do Scratch programming at a very high level, so I'm not worried about you. And is it exam season for you guys? Are you guys all having exams coming up? Okay, well, obviously I live in the US, so I did not know about this. So yeah, so if that's the case, this is not a required thing. You guys can you guys should focus on your studies. Focus on your studying for your exams. Don't use my class as an excuse to not study. ICSE board. I'm going to pretend like I know what that is, but let me just search it up. ICSE board. The school. Okay, okay, okay. So it seems very important. So focus on that. Uh, Honestly, then, if a lot of you guys are having your exams going on, I would say don't then focus on this product that I gave. I, there's no homework for them for this next week. We'll have this homework and like what I would have assigned this week and another assignment then I'll assign next week if your guys are done by your exams by then. Uh, Otherwise, we'll just do it in class or something. If I get time, I sure will. Yeah, but don't explicitly make time. Focus on your studies. So with that, I don't think any of you guys had any questions. So you guys are free to leave. Have a great day, or well, rest of your day. I guess you guys will be going to sleep.